Well, hey, this is Rhonda Simmons, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Simmons Empowerment Foundation. And welcome to another edition of Empowered Heart to Heart. I am so glad that you're here. I'm scrolling and I'm clicking on the wrong stuff, but it's okay. It's whatever day it is, and it'll be all right. But welcome to Empowered Heart to Heart. I am so excited. You know, it would not be an episode if I did not start it off that way. And that is because I keep saying this and it just keeps manifesting that I have met and interviewed some of the best people this side of heaven. And this episode is no exception. That is because our guest today is one of our VIP speakers at our upcoming Dear Future Me Women's Empowerment International Summit. I'm telling you, you want to be in the room. But until then, you need to make sure that you like, comment, and share this video if you're watching us on YouTube, because we're going to have a great time tonight, today, whichever time you're watching this, and you don't want to miss anything. Also, make sure that you subscribe so that you'll be notified every single time I upload a video, and it's happening a lot. And so if you haven't seen it, if you've been missing videos, don't let that happen again. Click the subscribe, okay? And so make sure you're also reaching out to us on our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram, all with the same ID, and that is TSEFIORG. So I am super duper excited because the summit is coming up next week, August 18th and 19th. If you haven't gotten your VIP pass yet, you want to be in the room, click on the link somewhere around this video or around the podcast description so that you can be in the room. I've got speakers from the United States, Canada, Slovenia, Thailand, Costa Rica, and Barbados. Again, you want to be in the room. But until then, you're in this room right now. And I'd like to introduce to you our speaker for tonight. And she is none other than the lovely Chante Dent. Hello, Chante. How are you?
Hi, Rhonda. I am doing well, exceptionally well. Thank you. How are you
Oh,
doing?
cool. I am fantastic. Life is good and God is even better. And so we're here and we're doing what we do. So
Yes,
thank you so much for being on the show.
my
So
pleasure.
yes. So Chante, you tell me that you're a personal development coach. Please enlighten us. We need some clarity. What does that mean?
Yes, so I absolutely love everything about what I do. I'm able to connect with some phenomenal individuals who are pretty much in a space of wanting to move forward. And some individuals want to move forward from a specific event that they know is holding them back. Some other individuals, they have healed from a trauma and they still feel a little stuck and not quite sure what their next step should be. So I'm all about helping individuals, number one, reminding them of the greatness that's in them, helping them to identify any particular goals that they're looking forward to obtaining. And then we create this magnificent plan that allows them to experience, number one, just the energy, the fuel that it takes to get there. And we take it one step at a time, one session at a time. And it's all about helping those individuals experience self empowerment and live fulfilled lives.
Yes, that is fantastic. So, how did you get to that particular niche in coaching? What brought you
Mm.
there?
Yeah, so I have spent some time, quite a few years actually, working with individuals who experience sexual trauma. And what I began to notice, and I noticed this in my own life, that we were walking through a healing process. And I will always applaud anyone who takes on that amount of courage to heal from a traumatic event. It's a lot of work and you must be intentional. But here's what I found, that even with that laser focused of healing from a trauma, some type of event that has changed the trajectory of our lives, there's this season that some, not all, but some individuals are stuck in, and it's a season where I say they remain in the residue of that painful experience, and they, in a sense, become emotionally weak. And what that looks like is I'm self sabotaging, or I go through the imposter syndrome phase, or I can see a greater level of success, but I'm not quite sure of how to get there. And I'm being held back because of the thoughts and not necessarily memories of the event. When I say residue, for example, for some of the survivors of sexual trauma, the residue could look like feeling insecure, feeling like a damaged good, feeling like they're no longer good enough to fulfill those goals that they once had because of the assault. And of course, I saw that as a problem, a huge problem, because you have this magnificent life, a phenomenal person who sits on the shelf, who goes back up into a corner somewhere. Because even though they've experienced a healing from a trauma, there's no buildup of self-love, of confidence, things of that nature. And so I realized there was another level of transformation that needed to happen. And that's where I love to help that survivor, anyone, as a matter of fact. But that core comes from my own journey of knowing that I've healed. Oh, but I have some other issues kind of hanging out over there, and it's limiting me. We hear the terminology quite often, limiting beliefs. Well, they come from somewhere, because we know that when we come out the womb, we are as free as free can be, right? Because this is
Right.
why our parents are always telling us to stop doing things, right? And so I'm like, man, I am being limited. What am I going to do about that? And so initially, I began to facilitate workshops on emotional intelligence, psychological safety, and that caused me to take an even deeper dive in how we can enhance and bounce back and truly live a life of purpose and fulfillment.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. How long have you been doing this, Chante?
So I started, and when we talk about the full journey, I've been helping individuals for over 10 years, maybe even 15 years. It's been a while.
Wow, that is amazing. Hats off to you. Much applause um, that you allow yourself to
Mm,
um, be used to facilitate healing.
yeah.
Here's a question you may not get asked often.
Mhm.
When you're in sessions with clients,
Mm,
and the fact that they need healing from something,
mhm,
it's far more than an owie, you know far more than an owie.
mhm, mhm.
How do you protect yourself from not taking on their pain?
Yes, I feel that that mindset started early on naturally. If I could explain how it evolved, I would. But it's something about, if I could use the term, being a survivor, because I remember what it was like to be a victim. I remember that phase of being a survivor, and I remember the phase of transitioning to becoming an overcomer. So there's something internally that transpired to where the victim stays back there in the past,
Hmm.
but the survivor, the overcomer, she remains. And
Hmm.
there was something about that mindset, that stance, that position that remains firm regardless of what situation I'm in. So
Hmm.
if it's me working with a client, if it's me having a conversation with a friend or a family member, just being who I am, there's this invisible line that's been drawn. I protect
Right.
my peace. I protected my healing process. So that, I believe, has positioned me to not allow what other people are going through to, you know, overflow into what I'm thinking or what I'm feeling. And I also have to remember that I'm in a position to support them and to assist them.
Hmm.
And if we all go down, I mean, like, somebody needs to
Right.
say, hey, I'm
Right.
here to lift you up. I'm here to encourage you to go further. And so I think that has helped me along the way. I'm
Mhm.
also an avid journaler. I'm not that good at being stuffy. So whatever does come up and manifest that causes me to feel off kilter, I release that, through prayer or just journaling. And that
Yeah.
way, I do my best not to carry.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is fantastic.
Mhm,
Um, it's awesome work that you do.
mhm,
Um, and I can't imagine, well, I can imagine being on the couch, so to speak,
mhm.
um, because it's so important. Do you think that people undervalue the power of coaching?
I do. I do. Not surprised if you consider how long it took society to normalize the importance of mental health, how long it took society to normalize the importance of going to therapy if you need it, uh, detaching that stigma from those type of services.
Mhm.
And so when you think about that disconnect, and again, we've come a long way, but when you think about that disconnect, one could only understand or accept why some might think coaching isn't necessary, but it's absolutely necessary. If you consider even experiences you may have gone through or seasons I've gone through, we have so many situations that we go through in life, and some seasons are lonely. Sometimes we
Mhm.
wish we had that person who could understand, relate, encourage from a non-judgmental perspective, and just want, from a win. I want you to win. I want you to succeed,
Yes,
and I've done the work and gone through the training that I have, those life-changing questions that can prompt greatness out of you. So coaching, I believe, is extremely necessary, regardless of your role, your position, your career.
yeah.
Coaching is a game changer. Absolutely.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I remember when I went through the training myself, because I'm a master certified professional coach.
Yeah.
My eyes just were so open. It just, I don't know what I was expecting, but it
Yeah.
was so revolutionary and
Mhm.
just life changing for me. Um, and the power of it, and I don't know about you,
Hmm.
but I grew up in a very uh, a traditional church, a traditional family background, where you don't seek out counseling or anything like that, because God is a wonderful counselor, and yes, He is. But there are some things that I need to talk to somebody, and so there's no shame in getting a coach, and I think just taking that stigma away, just by doing what we do is so important.
Mhm.
Do you find you work more with ladies or men or both equally?
Oh, it's definitely a combination. Initially, by default, because of the courses I taught and the services I offered, statistically, when it was solely concentrated on survivors of sexual trauma, it was mainly women. Now, as I've expanded into the overall personal development coaching, it's a combination of men and women.
Wow, that's wonderful. Now, are your services in person or virtual or hybrid?
Services are virtual. Now, I do live in the Atlanta metro area, and so there's always the option of in person for those who are local, but services are virtual. Yes.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Were they always virtual, or did COVID just kind of shift everything for you too, like the rest of the world?
Yeah, so a segment of what I do was in person when I taught structured courses for survivors of sexual trauma. We did meet in person. The tail end of those courses did transition and become an online platform, which by default led to the online coaching.
Hmm.
Mm.
Absolutely. So, Chante, if you could send or tell yourself, your younger self, a message,
Mhm.
what would that be?
Remain secure no matter what. Remain secure. And actually recently posted about this because my younger self, and we haven't taken a dive into my story, but my younger self was somewhat distorted at a young age through sexual violation. that
Sorry to hear
first round. Yeah. And so sadly, a lot of distortion manifested. I always say I have to give credit to my family. That was, I believe, my saving grace, where there was a lot of love in my family. But outside of that, I still had to work through. If anybody knows what victims of sexual trauma experience, I still had to work through a lot. So I would say to my younger self to remain secure, because a part of my aftermath was a lot of people pleasing tendencies. That secure Chante would say, I'm good. I am secure. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Well, I would love to hear your story, your why, if you want to share it,
Yeah.
however you want to share it, because I think it's so important, um, so that people understand that we're not just doing this work because we have nothing else to do,
Mm.
or oh, that just seemed like the great thing to do at the time, and I just stuck with it. There's always a story, there's always a why.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to hear your why if you'd like to share it.
Yeah, absolutely. There is always a why. There should always be a why. So I alluded to moments ago sexual violation as a young girl, and I experienced acquaintance rape in my 20s. That incident, that ordeal resulted in a pregnancy. And, there was a lot going on, as you might imagine, internally. But there's something about that inner fight that eventually I got to that point where I realized my life could go to the left or it could go to the right. I have a choice here, and I need to make a decision in terms of what I want my future to look like. And I actually, loved who I was, and I wanted to become her again. And so, one of the analogies I allude to is I felt like my life was in a dark tunnel, but the moment I made this decision that I was going to heal, I would recover, I began to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I didn't know what that journey or that process would look like. But what I did know is that whatever it takes, I will experience freedom, because I definitely don't like what's going on right now. I don't like the way I'm looking, feeling, or thinking, and we need to make a change. So it was me making that decision to go through the healing process. And surprisingly enough, it was not the plan to go back and help others cross over to the other side. But when you know that it's in you, I don't know about you, but you can't shake it. And it wasn't a part of my plan to say, when I heal, when I recover, I'm gonna help somebody else. Now I'm sure that's what you're supposed to do, but when you're fighting for your freedom, you just want to be free.
Yeah.
Now I found that there was a desire. It was a strong desire, and I was scared, but I knew I was supposed to help other people heal. And so I did. I I felt like this bounce back is incredible. And
Wow.
I want everybody to feel like this. Now that I'm here, whew, whew, yeah, let's help somebody else. So I became a certified rape crisis counselor.
Wow.
And I can't act like that was the easiest thing to do, because it was still somewhat fresh, my own experience. But interesting enough, I was married at the time, and the instructor was a male, and his name was Howard, and that's my husband's name. And so even though I was nervous showing up to become a rape crisis counselor, I was okay, I'm here. And then apparently I'm supposed to be here because his name is Howard. So that gave me a sense of peace and comfort in that moment. Um, Nonetheless, I went through this training and had an incredible opportunity to support these victims. That was the beginning of the why. It was a game changer because, again, I had experienced that type of pain. And there are different experiences, obviously, that come with sexual violation, but I had experienced it for myself, and I knew that pain, and I knew that bondage, and I knew the importance of finding support, finding someone who would get into the trenches with you
Hmm.
and help you, right? And
Yes.
so I had a light at the end of my tunnel. And I
Mhm.
thought, wow, here's an opportunity to be the light at the end of someone else's dark tunnel.
Yes. Wow. So powerful. So now that you've healed, do you ever feel, have you ever been triggered? Like encounter something that may or may not even be related to your trauma,
Mhm.
but it triggers some of the same emotions.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely. I always tell people triggers are real. And if you're a human being, as long as you have life, there's a
Hmm.
possibility that you will be triggered. And so I will say that the triggers for me have decreased a great deal. I can't tell you the last time I was triggered. It's something about building this muscle that I won't use the term that we loosely say time heals. I won't even say time healed at all. I think it was just being intentional about building the muscle to address the triggers, face them head on. But when the triggers would transpire and they would come in forms of seeing a car that looked similar to the car of the guy who raped me. One obvious trigger was for me, it was seeing any type of movie where there was a scene where someone was being sexually violated. That served as a trigger. Being intimate with my husband was the biggest trigger. And so those triggers definitely took a toll on me. And I'll say again, it got to the point where I just, this cannot be the rest of my life. And I really need to figure out how to handle this. And the first person I actually reached out to was a lady who worked at the Rape Crisis Center. And I'm like, hey, hold on, wait a minute. I mean, I've gone through this and that, but I need some help here. And so it actually took years. It wasn't an overnight, like, okay, I'm good, triggers are gone. It took years. And you talked about, you mentioned some that weren't even related to sexual trauma. Gosh, there's so much to unfold here, because they're definitely the direct triggers. I see the name of the person who raped me, and then oh my God, I see someone who looks like the person who raped me, and then oh my God. So there, it was that area. Now, when we talk about triggers that may not be directly related, here's an example of some of the situations that I went through. If I would interact with someone, and this could be male or female, and I felt like they were demeaning me or trying to not physically, but manipulate me with their words, if I ever felt like someone wasn't respecting me, that would take me back to that space of being violated. Why is that? Because I remember fighting and saying no, but he didn't listen. And so I would transpire that in these other relationships, like, okay, they're not listening. And I'm feeling a little disrespected right now. And that's not okay. So those type of triggers would bother me, which actually did lead me to a lot of the work that I do today. Because I realized again, I can't live the rest of my life like this.
Hmm.
You know, this is either a professional or a personal relationship. And I must build those skills and those really what it is emotional intelligence. I need to build those emotional intelligence skills so I'm not so bothered. And when I am offended, I have a process that I can implement and release that offense so I can move on and live an emotionally healthy life.
Yes, that is so important. You know, for years, the emphasis has always been on our physical health, and
Mhm.
and that is definitely important. It has its place. Um, but if your mind isn't right, if your heart isn't right, if your emotions aren't right, those things have a way of spilling over into your physical health.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I am so honored that you've done the work, and
Mhm.
like you said, it took years, so it's an ongoing process. And that's the thing people need to understand about coaching. It's not a band-aid, it's not a quick fix.
Mhm.
um, you know, it's an ongoing process because you've got to peel the layers. And
Mhm.
that's why with the upcoming summit, there are 5 different categories: overcoming trauma, executing your vision for your life, women's financial wellness, aligning your career with your values, and self care. And I did that because as women, we can be strong, successful, professional, have it all together, everything's going right, and still be struggling in one area. We're
Yeah.
multi layered. And so we've got to take time and do the work.
Mm.
And
So
so
true.
I appreciate you. So speaking of the summit, Chante, because
Mhm.
you're one of our VIP speakers. That means you're going to be in contact with the VIP attendees.
Yeah.
So we just want to know, what can we expect from you for the summit? Because we're super duper excited that you're here and that you're going to be there at the summit.
Absolutely. So I like to always be intentional, to encourage individuals. I think that's huge. And obviously, it's an empowerment summit. I think everyone needs to know that they have the ability to experience empowerment. That is the basis and the crux of the message. But what really will manifest from my time at this summit is helping individuals see the layout. What can healing look like for me? I know that a lot of times we feel hopeless. We hear the stories, but we don't think it will relate to our situation. So, my goal is to show participants what healing looks like and the benefit of doing the work, the benefits of going through the process. It might not be easy healing, recovering, etc., but it is possible, and there is a way to get through. And I want to paint that picture for the participants, give them that hope, and as we said earlier, just normalize that process. I know individuals who go through coaching as well as having a therapist, because sometimes it's a deep work that needs to happen, and that might not happen through a coaching session, and you might need to go and work with that psychologist or a psychotherapist. I want to encourage individuals to utilize the tools and the resources that are available so that they can live the life they desire. They feel it, they desire it, but many are not quite sure of how to acquire it. And my goal is to help them do that.
That is wonderful. I cannot wait for the
Mm,
summit,
yeah.
because here's the thing about the summit. I know that there'll be people there virtually from
Mm,
all walks of life, all types of experiences, all types of backgrounds, all types of countries um, at the summit. But there's a human need that, just transcends all of the differences that we may have. And, I believe that people are registering because they're hungry. Like
yeah.
you said, there's got to be more than this. And so, thank you so much for being one of our VIP speakers at the summit. And I applaud you. I applaud you. I got one more question though.
Yes.
I'd like to ask this question of every interviewee, and that question is, what does empowerment mean to you?
Mm. Empowerment means it doesn't matter what comes my way, it doesn't matter what manifests in life, it doesn't matter what area an issue or a concern manifest. I am empowered and equipped to overcome, to evolve, and to excel in my life, but more importantly, in my lane.
Ooh, yes. Oh, yes. I almost took it to church and said a hallelujah to that one.
Can I get an amen? Yes.
Yes, yes. That is wonderful. Wonderful. I love that. Overcome and evolve in your lane, in your lane. And that is so important. Well, Chante, I thank you
Yeah.
so much for being on our show today.
Mm.
And in exactly 10 days, we'll be in the summit together along with all the attendees, and it's going to be life changing. And so I appreciate you being here today. And if you'll just hang out with me for a few more minutes, we're going to wrap up the show and I'll get right back with you. Okay.
Thank you for having me, Rhonda. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, the pleasure has been all ours. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Miss Chante Dent. You have got to be in the room because this is what I noticed. Chante is not just going to help you identify the problem, because frankly, you already know what issues you're dealing with. She's coming to the summit prepared to walk us through the process of coming up with solutions. She's not a problem identifier, she's a problem solver. She's coming to solve the problem of here we are struggling with our issues, our unresolved issues, trying to go through life, trying to win at life and wondering why we're not. It's because we haven't taken the time to do the work to heal. And it's so important. So when you come to the summit, and yes, you're coming. Yes, you are. I'm speaking it. I'm manifesting it. You're going to come to the summit. When you come to the summit, come with an expectation of receiving something that you need from Chante, from the other 17 speakers. It's important. You're going to receive something, and that something will be life changing. So I want you to come with an expectation, with an open mind, an open heart, and open ears. Listen, because I believe that God has already orchestrated this summit for the right speakers to be at the right time in the right place for the registrants. God knows who these people are. I think there might be one or two people on the attendee list that I actually know personally. So there are people from all over the world that are going to be in attendance for this virtual summit. Why not you? Why keep struggling when you don't have to? Chante is prepared, she is trained, she is certified, she is well able and well equipped to equip you with the tools that you need to prosper and to be victorious, and most of all, to heal. So August 18th and 19th, that's just next week, next weekend, be in the room. Click the link below or somewhere in the description of this podcast. Go to our website at www.tsefi.org and get your ticket. Just get your ticket. Just it's time to stop talking about it and be about it. Get the ticket. But until then, I want you to be blessed, be encouraged, and most of all, be empowered. And I'll see you at the summit.